Vietnam is one of the most visited countries in Southeast Asia, and almost everyone does it backwards. They rush the coasts, skip the north, and fly home wishing they'd had more time in the places that actually stopped them cold. Hanoi alone is one of the oldest capitals in the region, and most people give it a day and a half. This itinerary fixes that. We're doing Vietnam properly. Every region in the right order, with enough time to actually feel it. More than 1,600 limestone islands, and most of them have never been touched by humans. That is Halong Bay, and it is where your Vietnam trip begins. This country rewards a north to south route, weaving from dramatic karst landscapes through ancient cities and down to tropical coastlines. You will cover a lot of ground over the coming weeks, but this first stop sets the tone for everything ahead. Give yourself 2 nights and 1 full day on the water. That is the sweet spot. Enough to absorb the scale of the place without the itinerary feeling padded. Here is how to spend it. Book an overnight cruise that departs mid-morning and returns the following afternoon. This is not optional. Day trips skim the surface, but sleeping on the water lets you catch the bay at its most honest. Early morning, when mist lifts off the emerald surface and those gray karst pillars appear one by one like something out of a myth. Locals say a dragon carved this landscape, thrashing through the water and splitting the earth into islands. Standing on deck at sunrise, you will understand why they tell that story. During the cruise, make sure your itinerary includes Sung Sot Cave. It is enormous, its chambers stacked with stalactites, and worth the climb up the stone steps to reach it. Second, ask about kayaking through the quieter lagoons. Paddling between the cliffs, water glowing green beneath you, is the moment the bay stops being a postcard and starts being a memory. Third, look for the floating fishing villages. Clusters of colorful wooden boats where families have lived on the water for generations. Some cruises stop nearby, and it is worth the detour. One practical note: book your cruise at least a week ahead, especially between October and April. The best operators fill up fast. 2 nights, 1 unforgettable bay. That is how you start Vietnam. Picture this: 500 Arhat statues lining a corridor that seems to stretch forever, each face carved with a different expression, and at the end of it all, a bronze Buddha 10 meters tall weighing 100 tons. Bai Dinh Pagoda is not a quiet temple tucked into a hillside. It is the largest pagoda complex in Vietnam, sprawling across more than 500 hectares, and it earns every bit of the time you give it. Give yourself a solid half day here. You will need it. The complex is massive, and rushing through defeats the purpose. Arrive early in the morning, ideally before 9, when the light is soft and the crowds have not yet filled the walkways. This is when the gold of that enormous Buddha catches the first sun against the surrounding green hills, and you can actually stand in front of it without jostling for space. Here is how to spend your time. Start at the electric cart station near the entrance and ride up to the main temple area. You could walk, but save your legs for the grounds themselves. Once you are inside the complex, take the long corridor lined with those 500 stone arhats. Go slowly. The craftsmanship rewards attention, And this is one of the most photogenic stretches you will find anywhere in the country. Second, climb to the highest point of the pagoda for a panoramic view over the surrounding karst landscape. The stairs are worth the effort. Third, visit the original ancient pagoda, which dates back to the 11th century and sits apart from the newer complex. It is smaller, quieter, and carries a weight the modern structures do not. This has been a pilgrimage site for over 1,000 years, and in that older section, you feel it. Wear comfortable shoes. Bring water. The scale of this place will surprise you, and that is exactly why it belongs on your route. Vietnam's first capital lasted only 42 years before it was abandoned entirely, and today you can stand in the ruins and wonder how a dynasty rises and falls in less than a lifetime. That capital was Ho Lu, and this is Ninh Binh, a province of limestone towers rising straight out of emerald rice paddies, where rivers slip through caves and the landscape looks like someone sculpted a bay and then drained the sea. Give yourself 2 full days here. You need the time, and you will not regret it. Start your first morning early at Trang An, the UNESCO World Heritage Site. You board a small rowboat and drift through a chain of caves and waterways carved into the karst, the whole route taking about 3 hours. Go at 7 in the morning if you can. The light is soft, the crowds are thin, and the silence between cave passages is extraordinary. This is not something you rush. That same afternoon, visit Ho Lu. The 2 temples here honor the Dinh and Le dynasties, the rulers who first unified Vietnam in the 10th century. The grounds are compact, so an hour or 2 is plenty, but the architecture is among the oldest you will find anywhere in the country. Bring water and take your time reading the inscriptions if translations are posted. On your second day, rent a bicycle and ride through the countryside toward the rice paddies. The roads are flat and quiet, the green of the fields almost impossibly vivid against gray limestone. Late afternoon is the best window for this, when the light drops low and the karsts throw long shadows across the water. Ninh Binh earns its place because it delivers something rare, a landscape that genuinely stops you mid-step, paired with over 1,000 years of history you can reach out and touch. Picture this. You're sitting in a small rowboat, drifting through the mouth of a cave so low you instinctively duck, and when you emerge on the other side, 20-million-year-old limestone towers rise straight out of flooded rice paddies on every side of you. That is Tam Coc in a single moment. Give yourself 1 full day here. You don't need more, but you absolutely need that much. Start early. Be on the Ngo Dong River by 7 in the morning, before the tour buses arrive and while mist still clings to the water. Local rowers will paddle you along a slow, winding route that passes through 3 massive caves. Hang Ka is the first and the largest, its ceiling dripping with stalactites that have been forming for millions of years. The whole boat ride takes roughly 90 minutes, and those first quiet minutes on the water, with nothing but the sound of oars and birdsong, are the reason you came. When you're back on land, rent a bicycle and ride to Mua Cave. The cave itself is modest, but climb the 500 stone steps to the viewpoint on top, and you'll look down over the entire Tam Coc Valley. Karsts, river, paddies, all of it laid out beneath you. Go in the late afternoon, when the light turns golden and the worst of the midday heat has broken. Between the boat ride and the climb, eat lunch at one of the small family-run places along the river road. Order goat meat. It's the local specialty, served grilled on a hot plate with herbs and rice paper. You won't find it done this way anywhere else in the country. If you time your visit between May and June, the rice paddies are at their most vivid green, and the air carries the smell of wet earth and growing grain. That scent stays with you longer than any photograph. There is a street in this city dedicated entirely to selling used shoes. Vintage sneakers, designer heels, boots from decades you can't quite place. All piled on tables for a fraction of what you'd pay anywhere else. That kind of specificity tells you everything about Hanoi. This is a city of 1,000 years and 1,000 obsessions, each one given its own lane, its own corner, its own ritual. Give yourself 3 full days here. You need them. Start your first morning early, 6 o'clock early. Walk to Hon Keen Lake before the heat settles in and watch the city wake up around you. Elderly locals practice Tai Chi along the water's edge. Vendors wheel their carts into position, and the light across the lake is soft and golden. This is Hanoi before the motorbikes take over, and it's worth losing sleep for. Spend that same day wandering the old quarter on foot. Each street was historically dedicated to a single trade: silk, tin, paper, medicine, and many still carry those names. Let yourself get lost. Duck into a street food stall when the smell of pho or bun cha pulls you sideways. Order a café suada, that impossibly strong iced coffee dripped through a metal filter, and drink it on a plastic stool 6 inches off the ground. This is how the city eats and moves. On day 2, visit the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum Complex and the Temple of Literature, Vietnam's first university, built in 1070. Both ground you in the weight of this place. A capital once called Thang Long, the ascending dragon that has outlasted colonial occupation and war. Save your 3rd day for the Hanoi ceramic mosaic mural along the Red River Dike, the longest of its kind in the world, and for the neighborhoods you stumbled past but didn't explore. Hanoi doesn't rush its secrets. Neither should you. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a cascade that stretches 300 meters wide, mist curling off turquoise water, and on the other side of the falls is a completely different country. Ban Gioc waterfall sits directly on the Vietnam-China border, making it the 4th largest transnational waterfall on the planet. That alone earns it a place on your route. Give yourself 2 nights here. The waterfall itself is in Sao Bang province, and the drive from major hubs takes real time on winding mountain roads, so you want enough breathing room to enjoy it without rushing back. Here is how to spend it. On your first day, arrive in the afternoon and head straight to the falls. Late afternoon light turns the mist gold, and the crowds thin out. Walk along the lower viewing platforms first, where you can feel the spray on your skin and watch the water crash across 3 cascading tiers into that impossibly green pool below. You can hire a bamboo raft to take you close to the base. Do it. The sound is enormous, the air is cool, and the perspective from the water makes the 30-meter drop feel twice as tall. Your second morning, get there early before 9. The mist hangs low and the light is soft, and you will have some of the best photography conditions of your entire trip. After, drive 10 minutes to Nuam Ngao Cave, a deep limestone cavern with dramatic formations that pairs naturally with the waterfall visit. In the surrounding villages, Tay and Nung communities have lived for centuries. Stop at a local home for a simple lunch. Corn wine and roasted meats are common, and you get a window into traditions that most travelers never encounter. Ban Gioc is remote, unhurried, and completely worth the effort it takes to reach. Here's something you won't find anywhere else in Vietnam. Entire communities where people still dress in handmade traditional clothing every single day, with patterns so specific they can identify which family someone belongs to just by looking at their outfit. That alone makes Sapa worth the trip. But then you add the largest terraced rice fields in Southeast Asia cascading down mountain slopes, and you've got a place that earns every hour you give it. Give yourself 3 days here. You need them. Start your first morning early, before 7 if you can manage it. Walk to any viewpoint along the valley edge and watch mist roll across the terraces as the sun comes up. The rice paddies catch light in layers, green and gold shifting minute by minute. This is the single best visual moment Sapa offers, and it happens daily for free. Spend that same afternoon in the Sapa market. Hmong and Dao women sell textiles dyed in deep indigo and threaded with sharp reds that look almost electric against the green valley behind them. Buy directly from the makers. Prices are fair and the craft is genuine. On day 2, book a homestay trek through the Muang Hoa Valley. Local guides, usually Hmong or Red Dao women, walk you through villages and terraced fields for 5 to 7 hours. You sleep in a family home, eat what they eat, and get a version of this landscape you simply cannot access from town. Most guest houses arrange this for you. Day 3 belongs to Mount Phan Xipang, the highest peak in Vietnam. You can hike it in a long day, or take the cable car up and be at the summit in 15 minutes. Either way, the view from 3,143 meters is the kind that rearranges your sense of scale. Sapa earns its place because it gives you something no photograph delivers: the feeling of standing inside a living culture set against a landscape that refuses to flatten into scenery. 300 years ago, Hmong farmers looked at near vertical mountainsides and decided to turn them into rice fields. Those same terraces are still here, still farmed the same way, carved across 2,200 hectares of steep highland terrain. Cang Chai is where you come to understand that landscape can be both engineered and alive. Give yourself 2 full days here. This is remote northwest Vietnam, and rushing through defeats the purpose. You want time to slow down to the rhythm of this place. On your first morning, drive or motorbike to La Pan Tan, one of the 3 communes where the terraces are most dramatic. Get there early, before 8, when fog still hangs in the valleys and the light is soft enough to see every contour of every carved step in the hillside. Walk the narrow paths between the paddies. They're open and accessible, and you'll pass farmers working by hand just as their ancestors did. Spend the afternoon at Chi Nha, where the terraces stack higher and the views stretch wider. If you're comfortable on 2 wheels, the road connecting these villages is one of the most rewarding rides in the country. Day 2, head to Tulay for a morning soak in the natural hot springs, then loop back through the valley for a second, look at the terraces under different light. You'll notice details you missed the first time. The way water catches the sky in flooded paddies, the sharp contrast between green rice shoots and rust-colored earth. Timing matters enormously. Come in late September or early October for the golden harvest, when the entire landscape turns amber and the fields are at their most photogenic. May through June, during planting season, the flooded terraces mirror the clouds. Cang Chai earns its place because nothing else in Vietnam looks or feels quite like standing inside a living landscape that hasn't changed in 3 centuries. Vietnam's highest mountain pass sits up here, and the road that takes you over it is one of the most exhilarating rides in all of Southeast Asia. That alone earns Ha Giang a place on your route. Give yourself 3 full days. This is not a place you rush through. The Ha Giang Loop, a roughly 300-kilometer circuit through the northern highlands, is the entire point, and you want time to stop, stare, and wander off the road when something catches your eye. Day 1, ride north from Ha Giang town toward the Dong Van Karst Plateau. The landscape shifts fast. Flat valleys give way to jagged limestone towers draped in cloud. Set out early, before 7 if you can, because the mist sitting low over the mountains in the first hours of light is something you carry with you long after you leave. Spend the night in Dong Van. Day 2, visit the Hmong King's Palace just outside town. It was built in the early 20th century by a local warlord and served as a power base through the French colonial era. A strange, compelling blend of Chinese courtyard architecture and highland culture. Then ride toward Ma Pai Leng Pass in the afternoon. Pull over at the highest point. The gorge drops away beneath you, the Ngo Quay River cutting a pale green line through the rock far below. Sleep in Mio Vac. Day 3, loop back south. Stop at Lung Ku Flag Tower near the Chinese border for the widest panorama of the plateau, then wind your way home through valleys where terraced rice fields glow an almost electric green during harvest months. September and October hit hardest. More than 25 ethnic groups call this single province home, each carrying their own language, dress, and traditions through daily life. That density of culture in one place is rare anywhere in Southeast Asia, and it's the reason Lao Cai deserves more than a bus window. Give yourself 2 nights here. That's enough to dig into what makes this region feel genuinely different from the rest of Vietnam without rushing through it. Your first morning, head to the Coc Lu Market right in Lao Cai City. Get there early, before 8, when Hmong, Dao, and Tay traders arrive carrying hand-woven textiles, dried herbs, and produce you won't recognize. The traditional costumes alone. Deep indigo, embroidered red, layered silver. Turn the market into something almost theatrical, except nobody's performing. This is daily commerce. Take your time, buy directly, and don't be afraid to ask vendors about what they're selling. Most are happy to explain through a few shared words and plenty of gestures. In the afternoon, walk along the river toward the Chinese border crossing. The old French colonial trade post atmosphere still lingers in the architecture near the bridge. It's a quiet walk, maybe an hour, and it gives you a sense of how this town has sat at a crossroads for over a century, connecting 2 countries through goods and people. On your second day, hire a motorbike driver to take you into the surrounding valleys where terraced rice fields stack up the hillsides in green staircases. The mist tends to burn off by mid-morning, so leave at dawn if you want that layered, soft light that makes every photo look like a painting you didn't earn. Picture yourself waking up on a wooden stilt house floor, sliding open the shutters, and watching mist dissolve over a valley of rice paddies so green they look electric. That is your first morning in Mai Chau, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. Give yourself 2 nights here. That is the sweet spot. Enough time to slow down without running out of things to fill your days. The White Thai people have called this valley home for over 1,000 years, and their living culture is the reason you stop here. This is not a museum visit. You are sleeping in their homes, eating at their tables, and watching women weave textiles on looms that sit right beneath the stilts where you slept. The patterns are not decorative guesses. Some are believed to encode ancestral histories in thread. Deep indigo, bright red, intricate geometric lines. You will find these textiles at small stalls throughout Lac Village and Pom Kong Village, and buying directly from the weavers is one of the most meaningful souvenirs you can carry out of Vietnam. On your first morning, rent a bicycle and ride through the rice paddies. The paths are flat, the air is cool before 10, and the valley is quiet enough that you hear nothing but insects and water running through irrigation channels. This is not a strenuous ride. You are covering maybe 8 or 10 kilometers at whatever pace feels right. Your second day, hike to one of the surrounding hillside viewpoints. The walk takes roughly 2 hours round trip and gives you that wide panorama of stilt houses framed by limestone mountains. Go early, before the mist burns off completely, and you will catch the valley at its most layered and atmospheric. Mai Chau earns its place because it asks you to do very little and gives you an extraordinary amount in return. Did you know that this 500-hectare citadel, the largest in Vietnam, was built according to Feng Shui principles to balance heaven and earth? Yet in 1968, it became the site of the last major battle of the Vietnam War. That contradiction is exactly why Hue Imperial City earns a full day and a half on your itinerary. This is a place where imperial grandeur and the scars of conflict exist in the same breath, and walking through it changes how you understand this country. Arrive early on your first morning, before 8, when mist still clings to the moat and soft light catches the Ngo Mon Gate. You want that quietness. Walk through the gate and spend 2 to 3 hours inside the imperial enclosure, where royal buildings glow in deep yellows against walls of green. Take your time with the halls of the mandarins and the Tai Hoa Palace. You will notice restoration work alongside rubble that has never been rebuilt, and that deliberate contrast tells the story better than any museum panel could. In the afternoon, rent a bicycle and ride along the Perfume River toward the Thien Mu Pagoda, about 4 kilometers upstream. The ride itself is flat and easy, and the pagoda gives you a completely different angle on Hue's spiritual side. On your second morning, revisit the citadel walls from the outside, walking the perimeter along the moat where reflections double every ancient stone. 2 giant stone hands rise out of the mountain fog, cradling a golden walkway as if the earth itself decided to offer you something. That single image has made Da Nang one of the most photographed places in Southeast Asia, but this city earns far more than a photo op. Give yourself 2 full days here. Da Nang sits right on the coast, backed by mountains, and it packs a surprising range into a compact footprint. Start your first morning early at the Marble Mountains, a cluster of 5 limestone peaks just south of the city center. You climb worn stone steps into caves filled with incense smoke and centuries-old pagodas carved directly into the rock. Go before 9 to beat the tour groups and catch the light filtering through the cave openings overhead. Budget about 2 hours, then grab a bowl of mai quang, the turmeric-tinted noodle dish Da Nang claims as its own, from one of the street stalls along Le Quang Dao. Your second day belongs to Bana Hills. Take the cable car up through the clouds to reach the Golden Bridge, those enormous hands you came here to see. Up top, you will also find the 67-meter seated Buddha, the largest of its kind in the world, completed only in 2018. Arrive right when the gates open to walk the bridge without crowds pressing against you. The whole complex takes a solid half day. Reserve your evenings for the Han River waterfront. The Dragon Bridge lights up and actually breathes fire on weekend nights at 9, and the seafood stalls along Vo Nguyen Giap Street serve grilled prawns and clams seasoned with lemongrass and chili that you will measure every other Vietnamese meal against. Da Nang is where the country's history and its restless ambition exist in the same frame, and 2 days lets you feel both. Picture this. You're standing on a wooden boat at 6 in the morning, and the river around you is already a traffic jam. Except every vehicle is loaded with dragon fruit, pineapples, and bundles of morning glory. This is the Mekong Delta, where over 1.5 million tons of fish come out of these waterways every year, feeding millions of people across Southeast Asia. Life here doesn't happen beside the water. It happens on it. Give yourself 2 full days. You could rush through in 1, but you'd miss the rhythm of the place. And the rhythm is the whole point. Your first morning belongs to Kai Rang Floating Market, about 30 minutes by boat from the city of Can Tho. Get on the water by 5:30. Sellers hang samples of what they're selling from tall poles above their boats, and by 8 the best vendors are already packing up. Drift through the market, grab a bowl of pho handed boat to boat, and watch commerce play out the way it has here for generations. Spend your afternoon on a sampan ride through the narrow canals that thread between coconut palms and stilted wooden houses. Most tour operators can arrange this from Can Tho, and the smaller the boat, the deeper into the network you'll go. Stop at a local orchard to taste fruit pulled straight from the tree. Longan, rambutan, whatever's in season. On day 2, rent a bicycle and ride through the rice paddies outside Vinh Long or Ben Tre. The landscape is flat and impossibly green, and after a rain the air carries that deep, earthy smell of wet soil that stays with you. Stop at a family-run coconut candy workshop to see how they pull and wrap each piece by hand. The Mekong Delta earns its place because nowhere else in Vietnam feels this alive at dawn, this generous with its flavors, or this deeply shaped by water. 3,300 meters of cable stretch across open ocean here, the longest sea crossing by cable car anywhere on Earth. That alone would be enough to stop for, but Nha Trang earns its place on your route for something deeper. This is where Vietnam's beach culture and ancient Cham heritage sit side by side, separated by minutes, not hours. Give yourself 2 full days. That is plenty to cover the essentials without rushing, and it leaves room for the kind of slow afternoon a coastal town deserves. Start your first morning at the Po Nagar Cham Towers, perched on a hill overlooking the river mouth. These temples date back to the 7th century and were built by the Cham civilization long before modern Nha Trang existed. Go early, before 10, when the light is soft and the crowds are thin. You will have the red brick towers nearly to yourself, and the view down to the water is worth lingering over. Spend your afternoon on that cable car ride to Han Tre Island. Time it so you are crossing back toward the mainland around sunset. The light over the bay turns the water gold, and from that height you see the full sweep of the coastline below you. It is one of those moments you did not know you wanted until it is happening. Your second day belongs to the beach. Nha Trang's main stretch is long enough that you can find your own space. Walk south past the densest cluster of umbrellas, find a vendor selling fresh coconut, and settle in. The salty breeze mixes with that sweet coconut scent, and the whole afternoon dissolves. If you want to snorkel, book a morning boat trip to the nearby islands. The water is clearest before noon. Nha Trang is not just a beach stop. It is where you feel how old this coastline really is. Sand dunes 30 meters high right next to the ocean. It sounds like North Africa, but this is coastal Vietnam, and the landscape here will genuinely confuse your senses. Mui Ne sits where 50 square kilometers of towering dunes meet the South China Sea, creating something you simply won't find anywhere else in Southeast Asia. Give yourself 2 nights here. That's enough to see both sets of dunes and still have time to slow down on the beach. Your first morning, wake before dawn and head to the white sand dunes. You want to be climbing them as the sun comes up, when the light turns everything gold and the ridgelines cast long, sharp shadows. Rent a plastic sled from one of the vendors at the base and slide down the slopes. It's ridiculous and entirely worth it. That same afternoon, visit the red dunes closer to town. They're smaller, more accessible, and glow a deep rust color in the late light. On your second day, walk through the old fishing village early in the morning. Hundreds of round basket boats crowd the shoreline, and the catch comes in fast. It's the other side of Mui Ne, the one that existed long before the dunes became famous, and it grounds the whole experience. 250 kilometers of tunnels sit beneath this city. An entire underground world built for living, fighting, and surviving, and most of it is still intact. That alone makes Ho Chi Minh City earn its place on your route, but what keeps you here for 3 full days is everything happening above ground too. Start your first morning in District 1. Walk from the Saigon Notre Dame Basilica to the old Central Post Office, then south toward Ben Thang Market. Do this before 9 when the heat is still manageable and the light catches the French colonial facades at their best. Spend the rest of that day eating. This city's street food culture is relentless. Find a sidewalk pho stall where the broth has been simmering since before dawn, herbs and star anise thick in the air. Bai Dinh Street works for dinner if you want energy around you, but the quieter alleys of District 3 are where locals actually eat. Day 2, head to the Cu Chi tunnels. Book a morning departure so you arrive early and avoid the midday crowds. You can crawl through sections of the original tunnel network, see the trapdoors and ventilation shafts, and understand how an entire resistance operated underground for decades. Give this a full half day. On the way back, stop at the War Remnants Museum in District 3. It is confronting and essential. Your third day belongs to the Jade Emperor Pagoda, one of the most atmospheric temples in the country, heavy with incense and intricate wood carvings. Pair it with a wander through the surrounding neighborhood. Late afternoon, get yourself up to a rooftop bar near the Bitexco Financial Tower and watch the city shift into its neon evening mode, motorbikes streaming through intersections like water finding its path. This is a city that holds war, reinvention, and momentum all at once. You feel every layer. Picture a building where the walls melt like candle wax, staircases twist through hollow tree trunks, and every room feels like stepping inside a fever dream. That's the Crazy House, and it exists right here in Dalat, Vietnam's highest city and one of the most genuinely strange places you'll visit in Southeast Asia. Give yourself 2 full days here. The cool mountain air sits around 20 degrees year-round, which is why the French built this city in the early 20th century as their highland escape. You'll feel the difference the moment you step outside. No sweat, no humidity, just pine-scented breezes and the faint sweetness of flower gardens blooming on every other street. Start your first morning early. Set an alarm for sunrise and head to one of the hills overlooking the valley. The mist rolls through the pine forests like slow-moving water, and it's gone by 9. After that, walk down to Xuan Huang Lake, the calm center of the city, and loop around it on foot. It takes about an hour and gives you a feel for Dalat's pace. Spend your afternoon at the Crazy House itself. Budget at least 90 minutes to wander through its labyrinth of sculptural rooms and rooftop walkways. On day 2, visit the old Dalat railway station, a gorgeous piece of French colonial architecture with a short heritage train ride attached. Then lose an afternoon in the city's flower gardens, where the air smells like perfume and the light filters soft through greenhouse glass. Dalat earns its nickname, the City of Eternal Spring, and it earns its place on your route just as easily. Vietnam's largest island makes its own fish sauce from fresh anchovies and local black pepper, a combination found nowhere else on Earth. And you can smell it before you even see it, that rich, pungent warmth drifting from traditional wooden barrels lined up along dusty roads. That scent alone tells you Phu Quoc is a place that lives by the sea. Give yourself 3 full days here. You've earned them, and the island has enough to fill every one. Start your first morning early. Set an alarm for sunrise and head to Long Beach on the western coast. The sand glows gold at that hour, and you'll practically have it to yourself before the day heats up. Spend the rest of that morning visiting a fish sauce factory. Fung Hung or Kai Hoan are both easy to find, where you can watch the fermentation process and pick up bottles to bring home. It's one of those experiences that connects you to a place through smell and taste in a way photos never could. Day 2 belongs to Phu Quoc National Park, Vietnam's first UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. Hire a motorbike or book a guided trek through the dense interior forest, where rare species thrive in canopy so thick the light barely reaches the floor. Budget a full morning for the trails, then reward yourself with an afternoon at Sao Beach on the southeast side. The water is shallow and clear enough to spot coral without snorkeling gear, though bringing a mask makes it far better. Your 3rd day is for the Din Cao night market. Arrive hungry around 6 in the evening and work your way through grilled scallops, sea urchin, and skewers of squid still smoking off the coals. On your last evening, face west. The sun drops straight into the Gulf of Thailand, and the water holds that color longer than you'd expect. It's the kind of ending a trip like this deserves. Vietnam doesn't let you leave the same way you arrived. It gets under your skin, through the noise, the food, the quiet moments between places. If you want more journeys like this one, subscribe. Which stop would you visit first?